Between 2021 and 2023, Hasbro released the Dino Fury toy line that accompanied the 28th and 29th season of Power Rangers. Like many, I hoped that following their first main toy line for Beast Morphers, they would take away some learnings from that and apply them here. The resulting toy line was in large part an improvement over what came before, but wasn't without its own trials and tribulations. Here's 5 things about the Dino Fury toy line. Number 5. Go figure. We got our initial look at the toy line during Hasbro's online Fan First Friday event around Halloween 2020. At the time, the Beast Morphers toy line was politely circling the drain, having released a grand total of 0 Zords from season 27, and only having 5 Rangers on the team meant there wasn't much else they could do in the 6-inch scale basic figure world. So it was understandable that Hasbro turned their attention to what lay ahead, sweeping it under the rug. Yeah, let's talk about what's coming 6 months later instead. Standard 6-inch figures were back for Dino Fury, and Wave 1 would consist of 3 of the 6 Rangers, red, blue and pink, along with a villain in Boom Tower. Okay, that was 1 figure fewer than the initial Beast Morphers equivalent wave, which had also included the Tronic Foot Soldier, but don't worry, as Hasbro would give us the iconic Henchman later on to army build with. I suppose the first thing that caused us obsessive fans to sit up straight was the sight of original weapons instead of the Chroma Fury sabers we knew they would be using. Following on from the America exclusive Fury mode from Beast Morphers, it was kind of impossible to tell at the time whether these non-Sentai weapons would actually appear in the show. They wouldn't, of course, and they were just toy exclusives. And for a season where the Rangers look like knights, not having their swords was disappointing, and speculation began on how they would ever get these out. You could make a case for them leaning into the knight theme even harder for the original weapons that are also supposed to draw on their dinosaurs too. I guess they're okay, but they didn't even stick with the idea when doing the other 3 Rangers. The next initial tension was that Blue was initially wrong. They had too much silver on his head despite the illustrations being right. They fixed it in later versions, luckily. And finally, not all Rangers got a basic figure, specifically Black and Green, who only got armor molded versions that made them stand out as too different from your initial wave of red, blue and pink. But at least those figures did come with their Chroma Fury sabers, hey? I actually resolved it for my set by buying the Amazon exclusive figure box set, which didn't include the original weapons, but did include the Chroma Fury sabers. And strangely, despite being back at the standard 6 Ranger team, I think a lot of what was taken out were the villain figures. Battle Attackers was their sort of solution to this, a subline of more preschool proportioned figures targeted at younger fans, and a way to collect more monsters if you really wanted to. The Rangers reminded me of larger versions of the old Imaginext Fisher-Price stuff, and the monsters kind of alluded back to those Bandai original 90s evil space aliens. Bit of a throwback with very basic articulation but very solid feeling. There's more about all of these figures on my new Patreon exclusive video, Best and Worst of the Dino Fury action figures. I actually did that exact video for Beast Morphers, and I realised I'd not done it for Dino Fury, so that's there for anyone who supports the channel as a supplementary delve. Anyway, I do love that these scale with the 6-inch basic line, so I can only conclude that's exactly what happened to the monsters. They got transmutated into another subline. Now, it doesn't work for everything. You can see that their version of Void Knight looks comical compared to the more humanoid version found in the basic line. But for the more rubbery, more alien, more tentacly ones, why not? It's not like I needed them that articulated anyway. So Hasbro were making it very hard to be a Power Rangers fan, because they were changing stuff from what we were seeing on screen, and they were definitely not rewarding any day one buyers who showed up to get the blue with the helmet sculpting mistake, and then got unmatching figures from the basic store releases, and they basically made it really difficult to get a complete set of matching accessories. We were already starting out with a turbulent experience when they should have been working on making it streamlined and simple. Just let me give you a little bit of money and you just give me what I need, please. Number 4, Zord Link, not Zord Complete. So like the Bandai America Zord Builder part scheme that preceded it, Hasbro debuted their own unifying Zord port on Dino Fury dubbed Zord Link. Now this was not something I was ever expecting to make it out of Dino Fury alive, but Cosmic Fury did surprise us with that on their solo Megazord release. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself on that one. Zord Link is a lot like the port the Bandai Japan creations originally used for Ryu Soldier, reminds me of Lego studs and basically allows you greater freedom when combining these Zords to put bits on wherever you like, within reason. The drawback of the line was present from the initial concept, that it was more parts former than transformer, but given that's exactly what it is, it does make sense. Was it the right connector type? Well, I ended up cracking and buying a replacement set of black and blue because the loose cannon piece annoyed me so much in the 5 Knights combination. As early as my first review, those black drill bits from the T-Rex Champion were constantly falling off. This review sort of sums it up, and that low quality label stands out to me. Initially I would have refuted it because my experience was very good with these. However, in the months that followed, my Terra Freeze leg just broke loose one day, no idea why, and I was left thinking, yeah, these are kind of low quality toys. They won't last, and it's a shame. But if I'm being honest, similar things happened to some of my Dino Charge Zords from Bandai America. You could tell with the T-Rex Champion Zord, Hasbro wanted to do a good job with this toy line. The red was much less dull and matte than the Beast Morphers one. The articulation spoiled us yet again and was leaps and bounds ahead of the Japanese equivalent. There was a lot to be excited about when the Dino Fury Zords started to release. The biggest problem with the Zords though was that unfortunately, just like the Beast Morphers Zord line that preceded it, Hasbro didn't complete this one either, or the Cosmic Fury Zords that followed it. It's like Hasbro was allergic to selling what their own TV series was advertising. You would think, being one company in charge of both the show and toy line, they would be more simpatico than Saban and Bandai ever were. Turns out, having two different companies with two different vested interests actually had better communication and planning than one company owning everything outright. Hasbro did 6 sets of Zords and 2 Amazon exclusive gift packs. I always like the bigger gift packs more, but I didn't want to double up on having 2 T-Rex champions, so I swapped to the numbered sets instead for 4, 5 and 6. They are a fun set to mess around with, and the sheer amount of combination possibilities, I'm thinking there's about 23 official ways, possibly more, to play with these 8 Zords, and that's before you even start trying to create your own versions. Means you can definitely stay distracted by these for a long time. It's just a shame that they didn't take it to the logical conclusion and finish off the line with the Patchy Zord and the Cosmic Raptors. Much like Beast Morphers Zord line, we were so close and yet so far. Number 3, Morpher Mayhem. Of course, we have to talk about the Morphers. On first glance, the Dino Fury Morpher looks just like the Bandai Japan Ryu Soldier version. Incorporating motion-activated sound effects, we followed the Beast Morphers version in that sense. The problem, though, became quite glaring early on. Unlike Beast Morphers, the Dino Fury Morpher had no vocal dialogue lines recorded for it. In some, it doesn't even do as much as the Beast Morphers one did. Sure, you could insert as many keys as you had from your figure and Zord array, but it didn't really give you much more. It just gave you random music and sounds, none of which were show accurate or representative. Some of the music was so retro nostalgic and silly, it seemed like the Morpher electronics had to be produced and finished earlier than any of the series sounds had ever been decided on. It's very fractured production, considering Hasbro was leading the charge on both the show and the toy line. For their toy division not to know what the show was going to be doing with the Morpher sounds was odd. And again, a byproduct of the design coming out of Japan, but it doesn't do a great deal. You spin a faceplate and press a button, that's it. Hasbro changed the Beast Morphers version by forcing in the key gimmick, and yet it still had the pop-up visor from the original. This, comparatively, seemed a little bit mid. They also had reversed on the adult suitability of this strap. The Beast Morphers stuff supported adult wrists comfortably. This was a little on the tight side. Obviously that first season was shipped with convention cosplayers considered. This time though, they were out of luck. Some of the sounds were definitely created with kids in mind and giving them something to laugh at, which is a subtle change from Beast Morphers, where they went with something that could appease everyone. For Season 2, as is tradition, they pushed another Morpher on us, and this was the Dino Knight Morpher. No wrist wearing required. This was basically a roleplay handheld weapon. The kid toyeticness was furthered by making a handle way too tight to hold comfortably as an adult. Okay, that's kind of par for the course in Power Rangers history, and you could almost forgive it if they announced a Lightning Collection bigger version. Anyway, while the second one had even fewer sounds, it can't even tell the difference between all your different Dino Fury keys, they had at least put in the Bert Cellen morphing theme music, or the first couple seconds of it anyway. It stops before it gets to the really good part, unfortunately, but as I tweeted when he released the score on streaming, I did think that that toy was going to be the only official way to ever get hold of that music. Go stream it or buy it, you guys. That soundtrack is incredible. Same for Cosmic Fury. And how did they disrespect our boy, the 6th Ranger Morpher this time? Well, they didn't nerf his Morpher, luckily, and though they did kid-size it, and not even call it a Morpher on the box, Gold Fury Blade Blaster was what it was dubbed. I never even saw it on store shelves in person, and apparently it's quite on par with the Japan version, and it even includes some more Bert Cellen music teasers. Go figure, probably one of the better ones. Number 2, key change. So the gimmick key changed from Japan. 2 versions were actually pursued by Hasbro. One that came with action figures, just like the Beast X keys from the year before, and one that came with the Zords. As soon as that first Fan-First Friday, we noticed that the Dino Fury keys had been simplified from the Japan originals, which were fully painted, into a holographic sticker and flattened, like a steamroller had gone over it. The gimmick that had been started with Beast Morphers Ranger keys continued here, so that each individual figure would include a key that unlocked different sounds in the Morpher, and although it didn't make a lot of sense, even villains had unique sculpts that you could use with compatible Megazord toys as heads for them, almost like they were taking over the Rangers Megazords. It was worse than just a flat holographic sticker, as the spring action from Japan had been taken out, so that it was now just a singular piece of plastic that you inserted into the Morpher or Megazord, and you were also going to end up with a lot of them, and they weren't able to freestand either. There was also a slot for it in the Chroma Fury Saber, but it didn't actually do anything, it just fit in there because that's what's supposed to happen in the show. This was a shame. Even back in Dino Charge, they made it so that a battery activated a different sound when inserted into their own saber. That Chroma Fury Saber, by the way, the gimmick was that it could sample colours using a scanner on the base, so a lot of fun if you had a Pantone colour book at home. It's a cool if weird concept. I did enjoy just stamping it on things to see how accurate it could get. But yeah, those keys were pretty much left out to pasture. Obviously as a Megazord, you need a head, and probably not wanting a repeat of Beast Morphers where distribution issues meant people couldn't get all the parts they needed to make a Megazord, they had the good sense to include the head keys again with the Zord sets. They were still fairly flat, but included a little ball on the back of the head to make it rounder. They lacked the holographic sticker and added posability with a ball joint. Basically it was a 2-piece thing, which was actually better than what the Japan versions gave you, although they were more faithful to the actual screen gimmick. But yeah, it felt very weird whenever there was a duplication in that collection. One set was more Morpher friendly and the other was much more Megazord friendly. There was definitely less paint detail on the figure included versions, but the backs of the Megazord versions were also lacking paint as well. In fact, they were lacking any paint. Both, though, lacked the action feature that was shown in pretty much every morphing sequence. Number 1. What killed off the dinosaurs? So it kind of felt like the Dino Fury toy line was happening in secret, almost like an underground line. It didn't help when they moved off Nickelodeon and onto Netflix for their second year. The first year stuff, fair enough, was more consistently available, but everything after it, that was like you had to be in the know for even where to find it and when it was even released. That second year became much more of an elusive, often Amazon exclusive experience. The box set of all the armoured up Rangers springs to mind, the 6 Ranger Morpher. I wonder if being a Netflix exclusive and finally off cable in America made Hasbro a bit more bone idle about the whole thing. Things died on the vine, like the battle attackers just stopped, Zords just stopped, and then randomly restarted with the Blaze Zord the following summer, 2 years after it appeared on screen, and then stopped again. These were all choices that were just contrary to maintaining the momentum of a Power Rangers toy line. Imagine you're a 6-year-old watching an episode of the show, you're not going to have that toy until you're 8. What makes sense about that? Nothing. Bandai would have had that stuff on store shelves often before it ever appeared on screen. They knew how to create and meet supply and demand. Hasbro just seemed to have this lax perspective of there's no demand, so we won't even supply. They were missing the point. They need to take risks and support the franchise and allow it to flourish by manifesting an abundance of physical product in support of their televisual efforts. It creates a two-way feedback loop, but by doing things in the patchy, unpredictable and inconsistent way they did, they made it difficult to be a fan of Power Rangers Dino Fury. I can't imagine this style of releasing encouraged many new fans in or to stick around either. Dino Fury had all the perennial hallmarks of a Power Rangers hit toy line. Dinosaurs, a key gimmick, and nice suits including lots of armor upgrade modes. For Hasbro not to go all in on this and actually seeing hints that they were actively backing away from the franchise was a colossal miscalculation on their part. Dino Charge was one of Bandai's broadest toy lines because they knew that dinosaurs are to Power Rangers what chips are to dips. Hasbro must have been sold on that at an early stage of the life cycle as they opted to adapt Ryusoulger in the first place, but as often it does with these big businesses, they lost steam somewhere along the way to market, and what made it out to the end consumer was just a wisp of what it could have been. Don't get me wrong, they did the whole team of basic Rangers, which was better than what the Lightning collection managed anyway. They released the majority of what you needed Zord-wise. They actually managed to release Zords during the second season, so that was another great improvement on Beast Morphers. But I don't know, it just felt like there was something missing from Dino Fury's toy line. Like it could have been more. Of course, if you think Dino Fury was lacking, just you wait until we get into it for the next season of Cosmic Fury. Oh boy. And with that as hindsight, Dino Fury was probably Hasbro's best basic toy line during their 5-year try. The figures were all solid, nicely painted, same for the villains too. Void Knight actually had more leg posability than Blaze, so that was another plus. The roleplay stuff did the job, although did start to lean into feeling a little funfair stall, especially that Mega Fury Saber, eesh. They tried a few out there ideas like the Rip and Go cycles and the Battle Attackers. They actually cancelled their 12-inch figures, so Beast Morphers would be the conclusion of those. A shame, as it meant you didn't have any big figures to fight your Megazords, although I don't think any villains were planned, but hey, maybe Blaze could return in one of his forms, or even Fury from Dino Charge might want a piece of the action against Dino Fury Megazord. They did do a 30cm Dino Knight Red Ranger with electronics, so maybe that was the replacement for those. Oh, and also they didn't seem to have any trouble putting out a 12-inch Mighty Morphin Ranger set on Amazon either. I do think that the packaging change hurt them as they navigated their way into a plastic-free world. Sometimes it was barely noticeable, other times they drew attention to it, like the initial figures pack, which was very plain, and the Walmart exclusive Dino Showdown set, where everything was just open to the elements, as it were. The boxes for Season 2 were a bit more like the Lightning collection in that you just had an image of what could be found inside. Hopefully we'll be back to Windows again with whatever Playmates do next. What do you think then of Dino Fury's toy line? Do you agree it was Hasbro's best effort despite challenging circumstances globally and a shifting terrain for the franchise itself? Let me know as ever in the comments. Check out the in-depth figure review over on patreon.com/PowerRangerTube, and until the next time, I'll see you later.